Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Lucian basic guy. Now Lucian is the shortest range ADC in the game, and he's not even an auto attack focused ADC. He's a very unique ADC in a sense that he is a spell weaver ADC, which basically means his main damage comes from his spells, most notably his Q. However, he does need to weave in auto attacks in between his spells to proc his passive. So overall, instead of being a high DPS hyper carry marksman, instead he is a short range spell casting burst style marksman because of how much damage his Q does. But with all that said, let's jump into the practice tool and talk about Lucian's skills as well as what exactly do they do. Okay, so the first thing we're going to cover is his passive, but in order to even do that, we first need some skills, because basically what his passive does is whenever you use a skill, you basically get an enhanced auto attack. So here you guys can see I'm going to Q. This is going to give me an enhanced auto. You can see I have a double shot. So let me put myself to 0 cooldown. Basically when I Q, you can see around my auto attack, the arrow, you can see a rundown timer there. Here I don't have my double auto anymore, but here immediately after I attack, here I still have my double auto. You can see I auto attack twice and of course prompt that double auto. So this works on all of your abilities, your E, your W, even your ultimate also procs the double auto. So any of them procs the double auto. So now let's go over what exactly his spells do. So first up, we have his Q. So his Q, you guys have seen it just now already. Basically, when you target an enemy, you're going to strike through that enemy and deal damage to all enemies in the line. So here you can see, boom, I Q, I do damage to both of these enemies. Now something interesting to take note of is you don't actually do reduced damage to enemies behind the first enemy. So here you guys can see if I Q through this first enemy and hit the second one, they both take 75 damage. However, you cannot use it freely, like you cannot use it right here. You have to target an enemy or a minion or something like that. Unlike Senna, you cannot actually target a ward. You have to target an enemy to actually do damage to them. You can't just anyhow use it. So next up you have a W. W is a skill shot that you can randomly fire. It's gonna fire and spread out into like a 4-point star shape at the very end. And when it hits an enemy, it's gonna explode into that star. So here you guys can see, boom, it explodes into the star right in front of me, and like that. So you can actually fire it somewhat to the side, and the bottom or right point of the star is still able to hit the enemy like that. Boom. Okay, not really, but like that. Okay, like that. Nope. Like that. There we go. So obviously that's not how you want to use the ability. As you guys can see, it's not very easy to hit if you are trying to do it in that way. You want to just launch it directly at them and let it explode. Now what this also does is it actually marks the enemy. So you guys can see that there is that like green glow. Not green glue, there's like this blue glow. So you can see that this blue thing coming off the enemy. When you attack the enemies with the blue glow, you get bonus movement speed. And this also actually allows you to reveal enemies in bushes. So if there's an enemy in the bush here, and you fire your W into the bush, it's gonna reveal them inside the bush, as you guys can see here, for like a second before they vanish into the out of vision again. So not finally, but next up you have is E. So his E is basically a short dash. Basically, it's just literally a short dash, nothing too fancy. You can of course dash over walls with it, like this. However, if the wall is too thick, you can't actually dash through it. You have to go to a thinner wall to be able to dash through. So obviously, it's just a dash, but it does of course proc your passive, which allows you to double shot an enemy. And your final ability is the culling, which is your ultimate. So here you guys can see it's a straight line. This is a little bit of an awkward ability to actually use the first time, but basically whatever direction you choose, you're going to fire continuously in that direction, and you can move when you're casting your ultimate. So here you see, I'm going to just fire. I can walk forward, I can walk backward, I can walk sideways. But you guys can see here is, if I'm firing in that direction, I'll keep firing that direction. So even if I want to hit these guys here, if I fired it like this, I can like only walk this way to try to get the blast into them. And of course like that, I can of course fire while I'm moving like that. And that is basically his ultimate. So his ultimate does amazing DPS, does a lot more DPS than what you would using your normal abilities. However, it's relatively difficult to hit. Now you can cancel it early by tapping it again if you don't need it for its full duration. You normally want to do this if the enemies are avoiding the ultimate, and you can instead cancel it and get the double auto in instead, which is going to be guaranteed to actually hit. So now that we've talked about that, let's talk about Lucian's leveling order. So at level 1, you technically can take any of your abilities at level 1. You can even take your E at level 1 to like auto dash and auto again. But most of the time you want to take Q at level 1, majority of the time. And majority of the time you take W at level 2, E at level 2 followed by W at level 3. But you can technically take W at level 1 and E at level 1 as well. It's kind of like a personal preference / situational thing. But generally your order is going to be Q, E, then W. And then that's also your maxing order. So you max Q first, of course taking out whenever available. Max E second. And you max your W at the very end, last. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Lucian's combo. So Lucian has a basic combo, which basically you use in lane and like, you know, whenever you want. Basically, you always start off your combo with E, and the reason you start off your combo with E is E's cooldown is reduced whenever you proc your passive. So didn't really mention this just now, but let me remove cooldown. So you see here, I dash, I have 12-second cooldown. I auto attack, you can see I'm lowering the cooldown really quickly. So here again, I double shot and I'm lowering the cooldown again. So the basic combo is you E auto, Q auto, W auto. So for example, watch here, so I dash forward, E auto, Q auto, W auto. That's your full basic combo. Now you can throw in your ulti at the very end if you need it. So E auto, Q auto, W auto, ulti. And that's like the maximum damage combo that you can have. Of course you auto after the ulti if you still need it. That's the maximum damage combo you can have. Now the alternative version of the combo is you E auto. Instead of using Q, you W first and then auto, and then you Q auto. Now you want to do this if you're trying to chase down an enemy or trying to kite away, because the W of course gives you the extra movement speed. However, it does way less damage than your Q. So for example, if we take a look here, my W over here is actually going to do 105 damage, whereas if I use my Q, it's gonna do 115. And of course, when you get items, the damage difference is gonna be a lot more instead, because your Q actually scales off of your physical damage, but your W doesn't scale off of your physical damage. So when you are like full build, the difference is not going to be like 10, or like when you get 1 or 2 items, the difference is going to be a lot greater. Your Q is going to do a lot more damage than your W, but here, because I have no items, they actually do almost the same damage. But you normally want to Q before W to guarantee the huge damage. And also, if you take Essence Reaver, you want it to proc on your Q and not your W. So normally you want to do the E into Q into W combo. Okay, so now that we talked about the combos, let's talk a little bit about Lucian's tips and tricks. So here I'm going to get into lane so I can actually demonstrate, but here the first kind of trick you need to do in lane is to Q through minions. So for example, if I have an enemy all the way over here, I can actually Q through the minion to actually hit him. So here you can see I'm aiming at this minion. I can Q through and hit him in the background, even though I'm not targeting him directly like this. But when I Q through the minion, I am indeed able to target him. So next thing is to remember to use your W while running away. Now your W, you guys know, it marks the enemy. You can auto to get the movement speed and run. But what you may not know is allies can trigger this mark as well. Of course, I can't actually demonstrate this in the practice tool, but if I launch my W and like my support attacks, I'm also going to get the movement speed to run away. Finally, the last tip is you can actually use your E when you're in your ulti. So here you guys can see, for example, I can't reach him. I use my ulti and I can actually use my E to dash forward and put myself in range to attack this dummy. So you can use your E to, for example, reposition and move over to the side. You can also use your flash when you're doing your ulti, so you can like flash forward like that, although I would not really advise to use your flash to reposition your ulti unless you really need it to finish off a kill. Most of the time you want to just use your E or just, you know, walk manually to reposition. And that's pretty much it for Lucian. So thank you guys for watching the basic guide, thank you for watching the video, and goodbye.